The massive station hung in space like a jewel made of metal and light. Ships from 100 different worlds came and went through its docking bays. Inside the central chamber, 3 species ruled everything they could see. The Vorthak sat on floating chairs that moved without sound. Their large heads held brains twice the size of any other known species. They could solve problems in seconds that took others hours. Their pale skin seemed to glow under the chamber lights. When they spoke, their voices carried the weight of absolute certainty. The Zephyrians stood near walls covered in screens and lights. Their 4 arms moved like dancers as they controlled machines across the galaxy. Ships, factories, entire planets obeyed their touch. Their technology was so advanced that other species called it magic. They wore robes that changed colors based on their thoughts. The Krillians filled the rest of the space. Each one stood 8 feet tall with armor that could stop bullets. Their faces looked like they were carved from stone. For 3,000 years, no one had won a war against them. Their ships could destroy planets. Their soldiers never retreated. These 3 species had built the Galactic Confederation. They made the rules. They decided who lived where and who did what. Thousands of other species served them without question. Captain Sarah Shun walked into this chamber with 5 other humans behind her. Her heart beat fast, but she kept her face calm. This was the moment Earth had waited for. First contact with galactic civilization. The chance to join something bigger than one small planet. The Vorthak leader, Kethmore, looked at the humans like he was studying insects. His large eyes moved from one face to another. He seemed bored. "So these are the newcomers from the 3rd planet?" he said. His voice echoed in the chamber. "They call themselves humans." A Zephyrian technician touched a screen. Information about Earth appeared in the air above them. Numbers and facts floated like ghosts. "Limited technology," the Zephyrian said. Her voice sounded like music, but cold music. "They still use chemical rockets. Their computers are simple. They have barely left their home system." The Krillian general crossed his arms. Scars covered his face from old battles. Weak bodies, short lives, no natural weapons or armor. They would break in the first real fight. Sarah stepped forward. "We may not be the strongest or the smartest," she said. "But we learn fast, we adapt. We can help build something better together." The 3 leaders looked at each other. Something passed between them without words. Then Kethmore laughed. It was not a kind sound. "Help?" he said. "What could you possibly offer us? We have technology you cannot even understand. We have conquered death itself. We have turned dead worlds into gardens." The Zephyrian leader, Vel-9, waved her hand. More images appeared in the air. Cities floating in space. Machines the size of moons. Forests growing on planets that once had no air. "We have built all of this," she said. "What have you built? A few space stations? Some settlements on your moon? You are children playing with toys." Sarah felt anger rise in her chest, but she pushed it down. "We built ourselves up from nothing. We learned to work together despite our differences. We never gave up, even when things looked impossible." General Thraxon, the Krillian leader, made a sound like grinding metal. It might have been laughter. "Pretty words," he said. "But words do not mine asteroids. Words do not build starships. Words do not protect us from our enemies." Kethmore raised one long finger. "However, we are not without mercy. The Confederation has room for all peaceful species, even limited ones." He touched something on his chair. A document appeared in the air between them. "You may join as junior members," he said. "Your people will be useful for basic labor, mining, manufacturing, simple construction work." Sarah read the terms as they scrolled past. Humans would work on alien worlds. They would extract resources for the Confederation. They would build things designed by others. They would follow orders without question. "What about our ideas?" she asked. "Our innovations, our different ways of solving problems?" Vel-9 made a sound that might have been a sigh. "Child, you have been in space for less than a century. We have been traveling between stars since before your species learned to write. What could you possibly teach us? The document continued scrolling. Humans would live in designated areas. They would use approved technology only. They would have no vote in Confederation decisions. Think of it as an apprenticeship, Kethmore said. Perhaps in a few thousand years, when you have proven yourselves, we might consider upgrading your status. Dr. James Wong, standing behind Sarah, stepped forward. What if we refuse? The temperature in the room seemed to drop. General Thraxon's hand moved to his weapon. Then you remain isolated on your one small world, he said. No trade. No technology. Transfer? No protection when the raiders come. Vel-9 nodded. Space is dangerous for the unprepared. There are pirates, hostile species, natural disasters. Alone, you would not survive long. Sarah looked at her team. She saw the same thoughts in their eyes. Earth needed the Confederation. Humanity had so much to learn, so far to grow. But these terms felt like slavery dressed up in fancy words. We need time to discuss this, she said. Kethmore waved his hand dismissively. Take all the time you need. The terms will not change. They are generous for a species at your level. As the humans left the chamber, Sarah heard the three leaders talking among themselves. They spoke as if the humans were already gone. Useful. For the asteroid mines, General Thraxon was saying. They breed quickly and need little to survive. Yes, Vel-9 agreed. And they seem willing to work hard. Good for the labor shortage in the outer colonies. Kethmore's voice carried clearly. Just another worker species. Nothing special about them at all. The door closed behind the human delegation. Sarah walked in silence for several minutes, her mind racing. Her team followed without speaking. Finally, Dr. Wong broke the silence. They see us as nothing more than tools. Smart tools, at least, said Engineer Lisa Park, trying to find something positive. No, Sarah said quietly. They see us as simple tools. The kind you throw away when something better comes along. They reached their small ship at the edge of a station. As they prepared to leave, Sarah looked back at the massive structure. Ships were arriving and leaving constantly. Business continued as if the humans had never been there at all. What do we tell Earth? Asked Dr. Wong. Sarah was quiet for a long time. Outside their window, the galaxy stretched in all directions. So many stars, so many possibilities. But only one path seemed open to them now. We tell them the truth, she said finally. The galaxy is bigger than we dreamed. But our place in it is smaller than we hoped. The ship pulled away from the station and turned toward the long journey home. Behind them, the Galactic Confederation continued its business. 3 powerful species making decisions for everyone. Else, none of them noticed that the human ship's computers were quietly recording everything they saw. Every technology, every procedure, every weakness, humans had always been good at learning from their mistakes. They were about to become very good at learning from other people's mistakes too. The journey home would take months. That would be enough time to plan. Sarah smiled for the first time since entering that chamber. They thought humans were simple. They thought humans were weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 3 years had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Confederation. Human colonies now dotted the outer rim of civilized space, mining asteroids, building basic structures, following orders from species that barely noticed they existed. Marcus. Rivera wiped sweat from his forehead as he finished connecting the last power cable. The Vorthak supervisor floated nearby on his chair, checking something on a tablet that glowed blue. Adequate work? The alien said without looking up. Tomorrow you will install cables in Section 7. Marcus nodded and said nothing. He had learned that the Vorthak did not like questions. They gave orders and expected obedience. Nothing more. But as the supervisor floated away, Marcus smiled. The alien had not noticed the small modifications Marcus had made to the power grid. Nothing dangerous. Nothing that would cause problems. Just tiny improvements that would make the system run 15% more efficiently. Humans had been making these small changes everywhere they worked. The aliens never saw them because they never looked closely at human work. Why would they? Humans were just simple laborers following simple instructions. On the other side of the colony, Dr. Elena Vasquez was having a very different kind of problem. The medical supplies the Confederation provided were designed for alien biology. They barely worked on humans and sometimes made things worse. Elena had started growing her own medicines in a hidden greenhouse behind the main medical center. Plants from Earth, carefully modified to grow in alien soil. She had discovered that some Earth plants could be combined with alien minerals to create treatments that worked better than anything the Confederation offered. The trick was keeping it secret. The aliens thought human medicine was primitive. They would never believe that a human doctor could improve on their advanced treatments. "How is the patient in room 4?" asked Dr. Patel, Elena's assistant. "Much better," Elena replied quietly. "The infection is almost gone. The new treatment works faster than their antibiotics." Dr. Patel looked worried. "What if they find out what we are doing?" Elena mixed another dose of medicine from her hidden supplies. "They do not watch us closely. They think we are too simple to create anything worth noticing." Meanwhile, in the colony's computer center, Chunwei was discovering something amazing about alien technology. It was incredibly advanced, but it was also incredibly rigid. The aliens built systems that worked perfectly for specific tasks. But when something unexpected happened, their computers could not adapt. Human computers were different. They were simpler, but they could learn and change. June had been quietly connecting human computer systems to the alien networks, not to steal information, but to help solve problems the alien computers could not handle. Last week, there had been a malfunction in the water recycling system. The alien computers had simply stopped working when the problem occurred. Chen's human-built system had figured out a workaround in minutes. The best part was that the aliens never realized what had happened. They saw that the problem was fixed, and assumed their own technology had handled it. "We are becoming invisible," Chun told his team during their secret meeting that night. "They expect so little from us that they do not see what we actually do." The secret meetings had started 6 months ago. Humans from different work groups would gather after their shifts to share what they had learned. They called themselves the study group, though they studied much more than books. Tonight, 20 humans sat in the abandoned storage room they used as their meeting place. They had learned to avoid the alien security systems by studying the patrol patterns. Simple observation that the aliens never thought humans were smart enough to do. Maria Santos, who worked in the manufacturing center, spoke first. "I have figured out how to make their building materials 30% stronger. The process is simple, but they have never tried it." "Why not?" asked someone from the back. "Because it requires changing the temperature during production 3 times instead of once. Their automated systems are not programmed to do that, but humans can do it manually." David Kim, who maintained the communication arrays, had even bigger news. "I have been mapping their network protocols. The aliens use the same communication systems across hundreds of worlds, but there are gaps in their coverage. Dead zones where their signals do not reach." He showed them a hand-drawn map of local space. Red areas marked where alien communications worked normally. Black areas showed the gaps. "We could build our own communication network through these dead zones," he said. "Connect human colonies without the aliens knowing." The room fell silent. That was not just innovation. That was the beginning of independence. Elena raised her hand. "I have been talking to humans on other colonies through medical conferences. They are all doing the same things we are. Making improvements, finding better ways, keeping secrets." "What kind of improvements?" asked Marcus. "A mining colony near Vega has increased their output by 40% using new techniques. But they report normal numbers to the Confederation. A construction team on Rigel has built structures that are twice as strong as the alien designs. A farming colony in the Centauri system has developed crops that can grow in almost any environment." Chun leaned forward. "Are you saying humans everywhere are innovating behind alien backs?" "Not just innovating," Elena said. "We are becoming self-sufficient. Some colonies barely need Confederation supplies anymore." They grow their own food, make their own tools, even produce their own energy. David looked at his communication map. Again, if we could connect all these colonies with hidden networks, we could share all these innovations. Every human settlement could benefit from what the others have learned. The idea was exciting and terrifying at the same time. They were talking about building a shadow civilization inside the Confederation. A human network that the aliens knew nothing about? Would the aliens notice if we became too self-sufficient? Asked Maria. Marcus shook his head. They only care about quotas. As long as we deliver the resources they want, they do not care how we do it. But what if they find out anyway? Dr. Patel asked. Elena was quiet for a moment. Then we will face that problem when it comes. Right now, we have an opportunity to become something more than just workers. We can become a real civilization. Over. The following months, the human colonies began to change in ways too small for aliens to notice. Efficiency improved gradually. New techniques spread quietly from settlement to settlement. Hidden communication networks began connecting human outposts across dozens of star systems. The aliens saw only what they expected to see. Humans working hard, following orders, causing no trouble. They never looked deeper because they never imagined there was anything deeper to see, but there was. In workshops hidden behind official buildings, humans were reverse engineering alien technology and finding ways to improve it. In secret laboratories, they were developing new medicines and materials. In underground computer centers, they were building artificial intelligence systems that could adapt and learn in ways alien computers could not. Most importantly, they were talking to each other, sharing knowledge, planning for a future that did not depend on alien approval. Captain Sarah Chun, now administrator of the new Tokyo colony, received reports from human settlements across the galaxy. Every week brought news of new innovations, new discoveries, new connections between human communities. The aliens had given humanity a role as simple laborers. But humanity was writing its own job description. They were becoming engineers, scientists, doctors, and leaders. They were becoming independent. The Confederation still saw them as tools, useful objects that required little attention or respect. The blindness was becoming humanity's greatest advantage. In the depths of space, on worlds the aliens considered unimportant, humans were building something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. They were preparing for a day when they would no longer need permission to exist. That day was coming sooner than anyone imagined. The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, carried by official Confederation courier ships to every human colony in the galaxy. Captain Sarah Chun read it 3 times before the words truly sank in. By order of the Galactic Confederation Council, she read aloud to her senior staff. All human offspring between the ages of 8 and 16 are to be relocated to Confederation educational facilities for proper instruction in galactic citizenship and useful skills. Dr. Elena Vasquez dropped her coffee cup. It shattered on the floor, but no one moved to clean it up. They want our children, she whispered. The order was signed by all 3 species. The Vorthek claimed it was for the children's intellectual development. The Zephyrians said it would give them access to advanced technology training. The Krillians called it necessary preparation for future service to the Confederation, but Sarah had seen those facilities during her original visit to the Confederation headquarters. Children of other species lived there in sterile dormitories, cut off from their families, trained to serve without question. Many never saw their homeworlds again. When? Asked Marcus Rivera, his voice tight with controlled anger. Sarah looked back at the message. Transport ships arrive in 6 weeks. No exceptions, no delays. The room fell silent except for the hum of air recyclers. Outside the window, human children played in the colony's small park, laughing, running, free. What about the parents who refuse? Dr. Patel asked. Sarah read further into the document. Families who resist will be classified as rebels against Confederation authority. They will be relocated to punishment colonies. Elena stood up slowly. They are taking our future. No, Sarah said firmly. They are trying to take our future. There is a difference. That same day, similar scenes played out across dozens of human colonies, parents holding their children closer, leaders making desperate calls to Earth, everyone asking the same question: what could they do against the most powerful alliance in the galaxy? On Earth, the Confederation had delivered the same message to the planetary government. But they had added something extra for humanity's homeworld. President Martinez read the additional orders with growing horror. Earth's population was to be reduced by 40% over the next 10 years. Too many humans were using too many resources, the Vorthag had decided. The planet could be more efficiently managed with fewer people. The excess population would be relocated to harsh frontier worlds where they could be useful for basic resource extraction. These were worlds where the average life expectancy was less than 5 years due to radiation, toxic atmosphere, or hostile wildlife. They are planning genocide, Martinez told his cabinet. They are just calling it population optimization, but the worst news was yet to come. It arrived in the form of Zephyrian corporate representatives who announced that human workers were being replaced by automated systems. More efficient, they claimed, more reliable. Human settlements would be dismantled, and the land repurposed for alien use. Where are we supposed to go? Asked Earth's representative to the Confederation, the Zephyrian delegate. Vel 9 did not even look up from her holographic displays. Arrangements have been made. Some worlds in the Outer Rim still require basic manual labor. Your people will be relocated there as needed. The words hit like physical blows. Humanity was being scattered to the winds. Their children stolen, their population reduced, their communities destroyed. This is our home, the representative said desperately. Humans have lived here for thousands of years. Vel 9 finally looked at him with something that might have been pity. You are thinking too emotionally. From a galactic perspective, your attachment to one small planet is irrelevant. The Confederation has many worlds. You will adapt. When the news reached the human colonies, the reaction was swift and unified. Secret communication networks that had been built over 3 years suddenly carried urgent messages across the galaxy. The study groups that had been sharing innovations and discoveries now shared something else, rage. On New Tokyo Colony, Sarah Chun called an emergency meeting. But this time, it was not held in a hidden storage room. It was held in the main assembly hall with every human on the colony present. They have made their position clear, Sarah said, her voice carrying to every corner of the packed room. We are not partners in this confederation. We are not even valuable workers. We are inconveniences to be managed. A parent in the crowd stood up. What about our children? How do we protect them? And our families on Earth? Called out another voice. How do we save them? Sarah looked out at the faces staring back at her. Faces of people who had worked hard for 3 years, followed orders, caused no trouble. People who had believed that if they proved themselves useful, they would earn respect. The aliens have forgotten something important about humans, she said. We do not break easily, and we do not abandon our own. That night, as emergency meetings continued across human space, Dr. Elena Vasquez made a discovery that changed everything. While analyzing the official Confederation documents, she found something hidden in the data files. Look at this, she told the other leaders, pointing to her computer screen. These orders were not unanimous. David Kim leaned closer. What do you mean? The vote in the Confederation Council was close, very close. Some alien species voted against these measures. The aquatic hegemony, the Silicon Collective, even some minor Krillian clans. Marcus frowned. Why would they support us? Elena pulled up more files. Because they are next. Look at these projections. After humans are optimized, the Confederation plans to do the same thing to 12 other species. Anyone they consider inefficient or problematic. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. This was not just about humanity. It was about the 3 dominant species deciding they no longer needed partners. They wanted servants. So we have potential allies, Sarah said slowly. Potential allies who are also afraid, Elena corrected. But yes, Chen Wei, who had been monitoring alien communications, suddenly looked up from his equipment. I am picking up something strange. Encrypted messages between human colonies, but not using our networks. Whose networks? Sarah asked. I think other species are helping relay our communications. Someone is hiding our messages inside their official transmissions. The pieces were falling into place. Humanity was not as alone as the three dominant species believed. Other members of the Confederation were watching, waiting. Some were even willing to help. Quietly, but the most important realization came from Marcus, who had been studying the technical specifications for the transport ships coming to take their children. I know these ship designs, he said, spreading blueprints across the table. We have been maintaining their engines for 2 years. We know every weak point, every system flaw. Sarah looked at the blueprints, then at the faces around her. People who had been dismissed as simple laborers. People who had been quietly learning, innovating, and preparing for 3 years. They think we are helpless, she said. They think we will submit because we have no choice. Elena smiled grimly. They have no idea what we have built out here. David nodded toward his communication equipment. I can have messages to every human colony within hours. Secure channels they cannot monitor. And I can provide detailed intelligence on their ship movements, patrol routes, and security protocols, Sean added. Marcus looked at the alien ship designs again. We know their technology better than they think we do. We have been fixing it. For years, Sarah stood up slowly. The weight of decision settled on her shoulders. They were talking about defying the most powerful alliance in galactic history. They were talking about saying no to species that had ruled space for millennia, but they were also talking about protecting their children, saving their families, preserving their freedom. Contact every human settlement, she said finally. Tell them what we have learned. Tell them what we have built. And tell them it is time to choose. The choice was simple, even if it was not easy. Submit to slow extinction or fight for the right to exist as free beings, across human space in colonies scattered among distant stars. The answer came back unanimous. They would not go quietly into the night. The ships appeared without warning across 47 star systems. Not the sleek vessels of the Confederation, but something new. Something the galaxy had never seen before. They were smaller than alien warships, built from a mixture of salvaged Confederation technology and human innovation. The hulls were dark gray, designed to scatter sensor beams. The engines ran silent, using hybrid power systems that human engineers had developed in secret workshops. On New Tokyo Colony, Sarah Chun stood in the command center she had built in an abandoned mining facility. Around her, screens showed the status of evacuation fleets across human space. 3 years of hidden preparation were finally being revealed. Fleet 7 reports ready for departure, called out David Kim from his communication station. All civilians loaded, essential equipment secured. Fleet 12 is having problems with their cargo doors, reported Chun Wei. The Confederation patrol ship is only 6 hours away. Sarah touched her headset. Marcus, can you assist Fleet 12? Marcus. Rivera's voice crackled through the speakers. He was aboard the lead ship of Fleet 3, coordinating technical support across the evacuation. Already on it. Sending repair instructions now? They should have those doors fixed in 30 minutes. The evacuation had begun exactly at midnight. Galactic Standard Time. Every human colony started loading their ships at the same moment. Families, equipment, supplies, and most importantly, all the innovations and knowledge they had gathered over 3 years, the aliens had expected humans to wait helplessly for the transport ships coming to take their children. Instead, they found empty colonies and missing populations. Dr. Elena Vasquez supervised the loading of medical supplies and research data onto the hospital ship. Everything humanity had learned about alien biology, human adaptation to alien environments, and the hybrid medicines they had developed was being carefully preserved. The genetic samples are secure, Dr. Patel reported. Seeds from Earth, alien. Plant specimens, all the biological research. We are not leaving anything behind that we might need. Elena nodded. 3 years ago, she had been just a colony doctor. Now she was responsible for preserving humanity's medical knowledge for whatever came next. The responsibility felt enormous, but also strangely exciting on her screens. She could see other medical ships from other colonies, all carrying similar cargo. Humanity was not just running away. They were taking their civilization with them. The first Confederation response came from a Vorthak patrol vessel near the Rigel colonies. Commander Zethvar had been conducting a routine inspection when his sensors detected unusual activity. "What do you mean the colonies are empty?" he demanded of his crew. "Exactly that, Commander," replied his sensor operator. "No life signs. No power signatures, the humans are gone." Zethvar felt a flutter of confusion. This was not supposed to happen. Humans were simple creatures. They followed orders. They did not just disappear. "Scan for ships. They must be hiding somewhere nearby." The scan results made no sense. There were traces of recent ship activity, but the trails led in dozens of different directions. Some headed toward the galactic rim. Others went deeper into Confederation space. A few seemed to simply vanish. "How many ships?" Zethvar asked. "Unknown, Commander. The engine signatures are unlike anything in our databases. They appear to be using hybrid technology. That was impossible. Humans did not have the knowledge to build hybrid technology. They barely understood basic spacecraft design." Zethvar immediately sent a priority message to Confederation headquarters. Within hours, similar reports were coming in from across human space. Colonies abandoned. Populations vanished. Strange ships escaping in all directions. At Confederation headquarters, the three ruling species gathered for an emergency session. General Thraxon paced back and forth, his heavy footsteps echoing in the chamber. "This is impossible," he growled. "Humans do not have this capability. They are workers, not warriors." Vel9 studied the reports flowing in from across the galaxy. Her forearms moved rapidly over control surfaces, trying to make sense of the data. "The ship designs are sophisticated," she admitted reluctantly. "They show understanding of our technology that humans should not possess." Kethmore floated in his chair, his large brain processing the implications. "Perhaps we underestimated their intelligence." "Intelligence does not matter," Thraxon snapped. "They are outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1. They have no military experience. No weapons, no allies. Where can they possibly go?" That question was being answered in the depths of space, far from any Confederation patrol routes. Human fleets were converging on coordinates that did not appear on any alien star chart. David Kim and his communication network had found something the aliens had missed. A cluster of star systems in the galactic void between spiral arms. Systems with planets that could support life, but were so far from normal trade routes that no one had bothered to explore them thoroughly. "Paradise Cluster, this is New Earth Fleet," Sarah transmitted as her ships approached the rendezvous point, "requesting docking coordinates." "Welcome to Paradise, New Earth," came the reply. "Bay 7 is clear for your medical ships. Bay 12 can handle your cargo vessels." It was not really called Paradise Cluster. The humans had given it that name because it represented something they had thought impossible: freedom over the next week. 47 separate fleets arrived at the hidden systems. Nearly 2 million humans, along with their ships, equipment, and knowledge. The largest migration in human history, but they had not come empty-handed. In the cargo holds of their ships, they carried something more valuable than supplies. They carried the infrastructure of civilization itself, portable manufacturing equipment, improved with 3 years of human innovation, farming systems that could turn any planet into a garden, communication networks that could connect worlds across vast distances, medical facilities that combine the best of human and alien knowledge. Most importantly, they carried the data. Every alien technology they had studied, every improvement they had made, every secret they had learned about Confederation systems. Marcus Rivera stood on the observation deck of the construction ship Endeavor, watching as the first permanent structures began to take shape on Paradise Prime. Human engineering teams were working around the clock, building not just shelters but the foundations of a new civilization. "The main power grid will be online in 72 hours, he reported to Sarah. "The communication array is already operational. The manufacturing center should be producing basic supplies within a week." Sarah nodded, but her attention was focused on the strategic displays. Reports were coming in from across Confederation space. The aliens were searching frantically for the missing humans. Patrol ships were checking every system, every asteroid field, every possible hiding place. They would not find Paradise Cluster. The humans had made sure of that. "Status report from our friends in the Confederation," David announced from his communication station. The secret allies that Elena had discovered were proving invaluable. Species that feared they would be the next targets of Confederation optimization were quietly feeding information to the humans. Patrol routes, search patterns, internal discussions among the ruling council. "The Krillians are mobilizing their battle fleets," David continued. "They think humans might try to attack Confederation worlds." Sarah almost laughed. Attack? Humans had no interest in attacking anyone. They had achieved something far more powerful than military victory. They had achieved independence. "Any word from Earth?" asked Elena, who had joined them on the observation deck. "Earth is more complicated," Sarah replied. "The government is still negotiating with the Confederation, trying to minimize the damage, but resistance groups are forming. Some cities are refusing to cooperate with the population reduction orders." "Will they join us?" Marcus asked. "Eventually," Sarah said. "When they realize that negotiation is pointless. When they understand that the Confederation will never see us as equals." On the planet below, human children played in the open air of an alien world that was becoming their new home. They had been saved from the Confederation education facilities. They would grow up free. The evacuation was complete. Humanity had walked away from the Galactic Confederation, taking their skills, their knowledge, and their future with them. Behind them, they left empty colonies and a galaxy about to learn a very expensive lesson about the value of the species they had dismissed. The first system failure happened on Vorthek Prime, 3 weeks after the human exodus. The atmospheric processors that had maintained perfect air quality for 1,000 years simply stopped working. Technician Vel Korth floated to the massive control panel, his large brain quickly analyzing the readouts. The machines were running, but they were not processing correctly. The air was becoming stale, oxygen levels dropping slowly but steadily. "Run a full diagnostic," he ordered his assistants. The results made no sense. Every component was functioning within normal parameters. Every circuit was operating correctly. But somehow, the system was failing to maintain proper atmospheric balance. "Perhaps we need to adjust the filtration cycles," suggested one assistant. Velkorth tried every adjustment he could think of. Nothing worked. The system continued its slow decline toward failure. It was not until a junior technician found an old maintenance log that they discovered the truth. For the past 3 years, human workers had been making tiny modifications to the atmospheric processors. Small changes that improved efficiency and prevented the gradual degradation that was now occurring without those human modifications. The system was reverting to its original, flawed design. Similar discoveries were happening across the galaxy. On Zephyrian manufacturing worlds, production lines were shutting down because the alignment algorithms that humans had quietly improved were no longer being maintained. Complex calculations that had run smoothly for years were now producing errors that crashed entire factory systems on Krillian military bases. Life support systems designed for 100 different alien species were failing one by one. The humans had been the only ones who understood how to keep the incompatible technologies working together. General Thraxon stood in his command center, watching red warning lights spread across the galaxy map like a plague. Each light represented a critical system failure somewhere in Confederation space. "How many bases are affected?" he asked his aide. 47 military installations have reported life support failures, General. 15 more are experiencing power grid problems. 3. Entire fleets are stranded because their navigation systems are producing incorrect calculations. Thraxon felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear. Not fear of an enemy army, but fear of invisible collapse. Systems that had worked perfectly for millennia were failing for reasons no one understood. What about the human colonies? Can we reactivate the systems they maintained? His aide looked uncomfortable. The colonies are empty, General. The humans destroyed or removed all their equipment before leaving. We would have to rebuild everything from scratch. At Confederation headquarters, the three ruling species faced a crisis none of them had anticipated. Emergency reports flooded in from across their territory. Mining operations shut down. Agricultural worlds reported crop failures. Even the capital's waste processing systems were beginning to malfunction. Vel-9 worked frantically at her control stations, trying to coordinate repairs across dozens of star systems. Her forearms moved like dancers, but for the first time in her life, she could not keep up with the problems. The hyperspace communication relay at Sigma Station has gone offline, she reported. That will cut communications to the entire outer rim. Kethmore floated in his chair, his massive brain processing the scope of the disaster. How is this possible? These systems were designed by the greatest minds in the galaxy. Yes, Vel-9 replied grimly, but they were maintained by humans. The truth was becoming clear to all three species, though none wanted to admit it. For 3 years, humans had been quietly fixing problems that the original alien designers had never anticipated. Small flaws in logic, tiny inefficiencies in power distribution, minor compatibility issues between different technologies. The aliens had been so confident in their superior designs that they never looked closely at what the humans were actually doing. They saw only that quotas were met and systems kept running. They never realized that human ingenuity was the invisible foundation holding their empire together. Dr. Yun Salar, the Confederation's chief technology officer, discovered the full extent of the problem when she reviewed 3 years of maintenance logs from human colonies. What she found shocked her. Humans had not just been following instructions. They had been constantly improving every system they touched. Power grids ran 15% more efficiently because of human modifications. Life support systems lasted twice as long because humans had found ways to reduce wear on critical components. Even simple things like door mechanisms worked better, because humans had lubricated them with compounds that lasted longer than standard specifications. They were upgrading our entire civilization, she told the Emergency Council. Every day, in thousands of small ways, they were making everything work better. The economic impact was catastrophic. The Confederation's gross domestic product dropped 20% in the first month after the human exodus. Critical supply chains collapsed when the logistics algorithms that humans had optimized stopped working correctly. Worse, attempts to replace human workers with automated systems were failing spectacularly. The automation worked fine for simple, predictable tasks. But when unexpected problems arose, the machines simply stopped and waited for instructions that never came. Humans had been the troubleshooters, the problem solvers, the ones who figured out how to make incompatible systems work together through creative adaptation. On the remote world of Zarian 7, the aquatic hegemony representative Reefsinger received an encrypted message from humanity's new paradise cluster. The message was brief but significant. "We remember our friends," it said. "Technical assistance available if needed." Reefsinger had voted against the measures targeting humanity. Now, as Confederation systems failed across the galaxy, the aquatic hegemony's worlds remained stable. Because 3 days earlier, human technicians had quietly transmitted improved maintenance protocols for aquatic life, support systems. Other alien species that had secretly opposed the dominant powers were receiving similar help. The Silicon Collective found solutions to processing problems they had been struggling with for months. The methane breathers, received upgrades to their atmospheric processors that prevented the failures plaguing other worlds. Humanity was demonstrating something the Confederation had never understood: the difference between ruling through fear and leading through value. 6 months after the Exodus, Kethmore made the decision that would have been unthinkable a year earlier. He authorized contact with the human settlements. The message was transmitted to every known human colony site, though most came back as destination not found. Finally, a response arrived from coordinates that did not appear on any Confederation star chart. "Confederation Central Command, this is New Earth Colony," came the voice of Captain Sarah Chun. "We received your transmission." Kethmore had rehearsed this moment, but the words still felt strange in his mouth. "We request immediate assistance with critical system failures across Confederation space." There was a long pause before Sarah responded. "What kind of assistance? Technical consultation? System repairs? The kind of work your people used to perform?" Another pause, longer this time. When Sarah spoke again, her voice was carefully neutral. "Our people are no longer part of the Confederation. We are independent now." "We understand that," Kethmore said, though saying it made his head hurt. "We are prepared to negotiate compensation for your services." "Compensation?" Sarah's voice carried a hint of amusement. "You want to hire us?" "Yes," Kethmore admitted. "As independent contractors." The irony was not lost on anyone listening to the conversation. 3 species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia were asking their former servants for help. "We will consider your request," Sarah said finally. "But our terms may be different from what you are used to." Those terms, when they arrived a week later, redefined the relationship between humanity and the galaxy. Humans would provide technical assistance, but only as equals. They would solve problems, but they would also be paid fairly for their solutions. Most importantly, they would share their innovations freely with any species that treated them with respect. The Confederation could accept these terms, or continue struggling with systems that were falling apart without human maintenance. The choice was simple, even if it was humbling. A year later, human ships began returning to Confederation space. Not as subjects, but as partners. They brought with them technologies the galaxy had never seen. Hybrid systems that combined the best of human and alien knowledge. Solutions that no single species could have developed alone, the 3 ruling species learned a lesson that would reshape galactic civilization. True strength came not from domination, but from cooperation. The species they had dismissed as simple workers had taught them something profound about the nature of intelligence, innovation, and respect. In the depths of space, humanity had built something new. Something the galaxy had never seen before. A civilization based on the value of every individual contribution. No matter how small it seemed, the price of overlooking humanity had been the near collapse of galactic civilization itself. It was a price the Confederation would never forget.